This is the first ever version, our first tryout of a new, well, it's the same podcast, but it is a new version of it. It's our Mixed Views Quick Talks, our little versions of topics that we didn't get to. And the whole reason for these Quick Talks are for the purpose that I came up with, that I thought about when I was taking my dogs for a walk, is that when I listen to things, I'm not a music person. If you listen to the Alleged Network and the Alleged Podcast, you know that. And so I usually listen to podcasts or radio. And, when I start a new podcast, when I take my dogs for a walk, those walks usually only last about 20 minutes. And right. I don't like to start a new 60-minute podcast if I'm only going to listen to the first 20 and then wait till later to listen to it. So,
it makes sense.
I thought this would be a good way to get I'm not going to listen to myself. This is for y'all. I'm not going to listen to myself as I take my dogs for walks, but hopefully someone will return the favor soon.
I'll listen to you. It's okay.
Okay, great. So these are like one topic podcasts, and it's also another great way for us to get more content out. So on our recording days, or like today we're doing it on a Tuesday after my class, we'll record our regular one, right. Our regular 45 to an hour, and then maybe on those days too we'll do a couple of these just to get more out during the week.
I guess it's just mainly to throw out a little more content in there, have a little more discussion about things that are still going on throughout the week. Did we say we had a special person here?
That's what I was waiting on.
I think
we have one of the OGs. It's you and him that started this.
The one who cancels all of his doctor's appointments on the day of.
Yeah, well, I don't want to spend any money.
Although you're gonna.
My last check. You want to know how much I got on my last check? $139, because I only worked 2 days.
Okay. Anyways, we have.
That's probably what mine's
Dorr
gonna be, because I only have 2 days too, and we make about the same.
She was saying I was back while you were talking about nothing.
So
anyways.
Thanks a lot, babe.
Okay, Zach Dorr is back.
Yeah.
Only for the episode.
How's
for
it
the
going?
episode. I figured I knew he was going to be coming on early. I didn't know it was going to be like the second episode.
Yeah.
Well, 1.5.
I was about to say, I consider this a half
So
episode.
even earlier.
I just want to ask right now,
episode.
before we continue on, because that was a very clean intro. Do we swear on this? I can hold it back. I can try my best to hold it back.
Oh, so you make the exception for him,
He's
but
a
not
guest.
for me.
He'll be here like once every like 5 episodes.
Well, if you don't want me to swear, it's fine.
Well, no, because I swear it a little bit yesterday.
No, it's like Joey Diaz going on a moderate podcast. Like you expect him to say some stuff.
But you want to? I could treat this like a morning show, on like TV.
No, I think for Zach, it's okay.
All right,
Fine.
Ship his fuck content.
All the worst already.
And you know what? It might be dangerous that I said that, because today's topic, we're talking about a very sensitive. Well, one part of it is sensitive.
The article that we read.
Yes,
okay.
where your hair is very bunched up on the top now.
It doesn't matter.
Today, we're gonna talk about. Oh, and by the way, these things are only gonna last about 15 to 20 minutes.
We're already at 4-minute mark. So
okay, well,
here we go.
It's a test. So, today we're talking about how the new Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, who is Republican, and he comes from the courts of Washington, D.C., he is set to be confirmed the newest Supreme Court judge after the retirement of Anthony Kennedy. And he's been doing the hearings a lot this week and being grilled by Democratic senators. Just pause it.
Wait, no, we don't need to. It's
No,
fine.
it's okay. It's just there's something weird going on.
Okay, well,
We'll
we'll cut
look at
this.
it
We'll
later.
cut this part out. He's been being.
I only got one eye right now still, so I had to like really focus in on.
Oh,
that.
is that why you were like squinting?
Yeah. Well, did you notice that like my right pupil's still like really wide, and
It
then
looked
this
like
one's
you got
like.
pink eye.
No, it's not pink eye.
I know it's not, but I'm saying.
Well, I don't know. Do you even know what happened? I'm afraid we don't need to talk. We don't need to talk about that now. Back to see this was the biggest problem about the other podcast is that this is what would happen. Anyways, so you were talking about the guy.
Yeah, he's been in front of the one of the committees that confirms senators, and they've been asking him questions, and the biggest stories coming out of those are the Democratic senators asking him questions about Democratic values, whether he's going to push
I don't really understand.
Why
if
not?
he's a Republican, why would you ask him Democratic questions?
Because he
already doesn't agree with you.
That's the state of the country now, and he's making those decisions.
Yeah.
He is 1/9 of making those decisions.
Okay.
And he's of the majority if he gets confirmed.
Okay.
So it makes sense. And so to finish off the little backstory, he's probably going to get confirmed, which will make the Supreme Court a 5 Republican.
5 men Republican.
Okay, men, if you want to put that in there.
I do.
Majority.
Yeah.
So it'll be 5-4 Republican. And they're all fairly young. They're all still fairly young. And 2 of them were just appointed by Trump.
In the article, it says that the other 2 that ended up retiring, they were 85 and 82.
Well,
the ones before Trump got the newer ones in.
They're still in the Supreme Court. One is 85, and the one that just retired was about to turn 82. Anthony
right, so they were saying that they could be in there for like the next 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I think, if I pronounce that correctly. She is liberal. She's a Democrat, leans that way, and she's 85 right now. But she's still on the bench. And the oldest one on the Republican side is Clarence Thomas at 70.
Right, and they don't even retire. They don't.
That's the only way they leave is if they retire,
right.
Or, you know.
Continue on?
Yeah. Yes, that is exactly what he's thinking. Zach's showing a picture right now of that Trump look of where he's about to say you're fired or something like that.
I think that's when he was during the election when he said the F-bomb on stage and everybody
really?
freaked out. Yeah.
Oh. Well,
he said the F-bomb too, like as he's president. Like,
well, during his rallies, he just kind of goes.
Yeah.
Like official speeches, no, but during his rallies, he's out there.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever like listened to like the phone calls that like Richard Nixon would do or Kennedy? Dude,
no.
It's hilarious because Kennedy's a little more tame, but he'll go on like on this whole little tangent, and then like at the end of it, he'll be like, "Yep, it was a fuck up. Yep." you know, whereas like Richard Nixon, he would call people to like talk about stuff like negotiations and stuff while he was drunk, because he drank a lot when he was in the White House, and he would just be like, "Oh, this son of a bitch, this goddamn son of a bitch." Like that's literally just all he would say, just like about everybody, just nonstop.
Maybe on another day we can talk about presidents. Like Richard Nixon had to live his life outside of the White House after his resignation.
Yeah.
And he like left with a smile, which always gets me. He got on that helicopter, waving his peace sign. Sign. What? I don't how can he?
Well, to be fair, did you ever watch him like actually like did he get impeached or did he resign?
He resigned.
Yeah. Well, during when he's doing that, he was crying, like on TV. And then after that, when he walks off, then he leaves it off with a smile. But
yeah, he probably freaked out on somebody who told him maybe you should cry a little, and then he's like, "You made me cry."
And you can think all you want about that guy. If you really do dig into his politics, and like I've read like a bunch of stuff on him and Kennedy, and who was the guy after Kennedy? That
LBJ.
Like, yeah, like if you read about all their shit, it's kind of strange because the politics at that time, even though it is split between Democrat and Republican, their perspectives on things are completely different than what most politicians who are under that are now.
Yeah, because like
Well,
Democrats were basically lower conservatives at the time.
But what I was going to say, though, is that
What does that
Nixon...
mean?
Means they still had conservative values, but they were like still progressive.
They were not part of this black movement yet until like when Kennedy was around. The whole thing with like what's his name, Martin Luther King. They weren't like supporting that till like maybe the mid '60s. Wasn't that a part of the LBJ movie? Like he felt forced. Yeah, exactly.
But he didn't give credit. He took credit. Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, though, is like even though Nixon was a crook, but I mean, to be fair, all these fucking politicians end up being crooks for something anyways. I mean, obviously he did something bad, but I think compared to most people at that time, he was truly like a real Republican, and he did, like me and you were talking the other day about how McCain was somebody who was part of the Republican Party, but was almost just doing stuff for the people and what was right. Whereas I think Nixon... even if you don't like Republican policies, he was somebody that really stuck to his guns on it and never really, he never forced an argument to where you would think he would be letting off on his ideologies.
Right.
And I think that's really respectful. Even if he was wrong about some things and he was a paranoid freak and he had a lot of investigations on people that didn't need to be investigated.
And he kind of screwed himself. In the end.
But... looking back, I mean, I think a lot of people give him flack because of what happened with Watergate and all that stuff, and you see like his like paranoia activity and like always holding his hands. God. What? Oh hey, we're talking.
Well, I'm in charge, so no. I'm pausing.
We're in the middle of talking. Sorry about that. There was a little problem that needed to be dealt with. I don't know if it's dealt with yet, but. I think it is. Anyways, what was I talking? Oh, so anyways, I think Nixon just has a bad rep, which is how he looked on stage and just kind of how he didn't have much charisma compared to Kennedy. But I think you really want to know who he is and like read his kind of life story and kind of how he got into everything and what he represented. It's very interesting, and I don't think many politicians even come close to what he would represent.
Okay, so I have a question then.
What?
How would you describe Trump's political views? Because we talked about it yesterday or whatever. In the article, that op-ed that the New York Times posted, the guy said he's not really a Republican. I don't know because I don't really side with Republicans.
I mean, I think it's of a consensus that he's not really Republican, like a typical conservative Republican.
So what's a typical one then?
Huh?
What's a typical Republican?
By the books. Like by the Constitution.
Are you asking for an example?
Old values, stuff like that.
Okay.
There's progressivism within the Republican Party because that's just the time. But there's less. Like if we're going by the Supreme Court, Republicans, and we learned about this last semester, Republicans do make their decisions by what is stated in the Constitution.
So they go by word for word.
Right. If you watched any of the hearings this week of Brett Kavanaugh, he literally pulled out a small version of the Constitution when asked how he's going to make. He was asked how he would make a certain decision, and he pulled out this and said, I can't speak to the hypotheticals, but I can tell you I live by the Constitution. I will make my decisions by the Constitution. This is my law.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's great.
And it is. But if you go on the Democratic side of the Supreme Court, they usually make their decisions, depending on the situation, based on the time, the relevance, and the activism or level of activism of the case.
So does that mean no one in the Supreme Court is a progressive Republican?
Well, like I said, that depends on the case itself because you might have a swing vote where it's like, yeah, this is so outdated. This just doesn't work with our current laws, where you might have a change in style for like the better good of the people. But like when it comes to like the transgender bathroom issue,
right,
you're going to have a split between Democrats and Republicans because that's just an issue that
It's current.
It's current, but at the same time, Republicans and Democrats think differently about what should be done about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, but that still doesn't answer the whole Trump question.
Well, Trump to me isn't a politician. He's the president, but he's not a politician.
Well, I never
Yeah,
said
no.
that
You know,
he
I know,
was.
but my whole thing is that he's one of those people that kind of dug his way in. He has a lot of money. He has a big name. He made it. I mean, even on the election, I didn't think he was going to really fucking win. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did.
That's the one thing I can't wrap my head around, because I never once was surprised that he led the whole thing. I was never once convinced that Hillary had it or was even like above him. Like I just was never convinced.
I'm with you on that, but when the grab the pussy thing came out, I was really kind of like off the bandwagon. I'm like, he's fucked now.
Maybe.
So wait, do you think he got elected because so many people was like, nah, it's not really gonna happen, and they just voted for him because they didn't like Hillary? Then
I think part of it was people voted because they wanted to say they voted for Donald Trump. Like they wanted to say they were a part of that. I think people voted for him because they wanted to see what was going to happen if he actually became president. And I think people also voted for him because they legitimately, like, I think there was a group of people that legitimately thought he would make a good president.
Yeah. I guarantee you most of his votes were Democrats, like in real life.
Really?
Because they were just like, fuck it. And I know that sounds like a little out there, but I guarantee you there was people that were just like, because think about it, we had a black president for 8 fucking years. And what? Just because there's a woman now, like people are just going to go away from being a Democrat and go whatever? I guarantee people were just like, fuck it. He's not going to win. I just want to do this and just see what happens. It's like what you said.
That's what
I
said.
guarantee most of those people, the reason, even though Hillary got the majority, I feel like most of the voters, even though, I mean, obviously he got the Republican vote, but
Which
I think people who were Democrat totally voted for him just to see what the fuck would happen.
Hillary getting the majority says a lot.
Yeah.
Because
How so?
it doesn't say that people went out and voted for Trump.
Yeah.
It says that it is partially Hillary's fault. Because that she didn't win the electoral votes. Because she didn't go, and I think she's talked about this, or other people have talked about it, that she didn't go to the important states or the swing states at the right time, or she didn't go to them late in the campaign process or pay enough attention. And majority vote doesn't matter. It's a number. It's a number for all of us to see and keep track, but it doesn't count towards anything really.
I mean, that does make sense that it's her fault.
And something that I kind of thought about is that even though Donald Trump has been known to be somewhat part of some fuckery with some tax stuff and stuff like that, I do think, like the statement that I made earlier, that he's not really a politician that got into politics and at the highest fucking position in our country. I think it's almost like a thing, because if you go back to like new stuff about when Clinton was in the White House, they were known crooks. Both of them were known crooks. And, you know, it was just kind of a big deal. And then when they left the White House, they're the very first people maybe not the very first, but they were one of the main ones that stole a bunch of shit from the White House as they left. Like a lot of possessions that were in there, they took them and then sold them.
I feel like they felt like it was theirs.
I know,
because they were there.
You're not supposed to do these.
Well, obviously,
those two people, the Clintons, are fucking crooks. They're allegedly known to kill people, to get rid of things. It's that idea, and I just think she already has the imagery of dirty politics, and you have Donald Trump, who is talking about making America great again, where she is almost staying in the past. She's going Democrat. We've been Democrat for 8 years. And that's kind of what I was talking about with the voters. We were Democrat for 8 fucking years, and we had the majority of the voters voting for Obama, and he won both terms. And all of a sudden now this lady gets fucked. She gets the majority of the vote, but she doesn't get the electoral. These aren't a bunch of racists voting for fucking Donald Trump and all this stuff. This is America choosing to vote for him. And I think it's just because of the idea of purity. Because even though maybe he's a businessman and he doesn't necessarily know what making America great again is, I mean, maybe to him it's just about money. I just think that he had more of a pure look than Hillary did because she was already looked at as a dirty politician.
I agree with that. I agree with that because I feel like now when he was in the campaign process, his arguers or his critics would say he's not a politician. What does he know?
Yeah.
But now in this next campaign, 2020, you have names like Kanye, Oprah. Now, Kanye is probably going to run as Republican or an independent. I don't know.
I feel like
Probably
he will.
Republican.
He will go Republican.
Probably.
He did that whole thing with Trump, you know.
Oprah will definitely run as a Democrat.
Yeah, but honestly,
What
I don't
are the
see
what are the
hell she
Democrats?
could do.
What are the? Doesn't matter. She's Oprah.
she'll go on stage and be like, "Look under your feet."
No, she'll go all socialism and be like, "You get health care and you get health care." So, what are the Democrats gonna say, or the liberals gonna say when Oprah starts running? You know, she's not a politician.
Yeah.
But the times are changing where the people who want to run this country or want to help run this country, with all the activism going on, they're not going to be true politicians. They're going to be, and that's kind of like you were saying, the purity of it. Like, there is a great idea in the purity of regular people who have lived through these policies or have lived to see as a regular person. They're not in the government offices making these things, making deals, making bad deals to make good deals. They're just seeing it from the outsider, and there's a great idea about purity in our government because for too long now there is no purity in the government anywhere.
So you think moving forward, you know, let's say Trump doesn't get reelected, which in my hope, I hope not, but you're saying after that it should just kind of become a thing where people outside of politics who may know a little bit of something should run instead?
I have no problem with a regular citizen who has very little political experience, but is very knows what's going on in the world. I have no problem with them running for the highest power of office because also in my mind, I know they're going to be surrounded by people who know this stuff.
Right. No, I mean, I like the idea as well because, you know, it's taking, okay, maybe not, let's say the average person, but someone who doesn't really worry too much about like all the politics and stuff that goes on and just deals what they want to do, but then they form this idea of how they think the country should be run, and then
the only thing that scared me about Trump is when he was creating his cabinet, a lot of the people that he chose were like also businessmen, which scared me about like Rex Tillerson. He was the first Secretary of State under Trump. He's not a political guy. He was a CEO of Exxon, right?
The gas?
Yeah, I think he was the CEO of Exxon Corporation, but he was overseeing like the same job that Hillary Clinton had under Obama.
Yeah.
Which scared me a little because I was iffy about his qualifications for that kind of job, because that's also in the line of presidency. You have president, vice president, like the pro temp, whatever, and then I think it's Secretary of State. I didn't know if he.
But what if he only did it just so that he knew somebody coming in? Because like in the op-ed we read, you know, we already know, and you probably should have known from the very beginning, that someone was helping Trump make all these decisions. So wouldn't it be at least okay for him to have a couple of people in the office with him he feels comfortable with and can trust to help make these decisions?
I might feel comfortable with Zach being in my White House, but I'm not going to give him the Secretary of State position if he's not qualified for it. I might give him like my chief of staff.
I'm not saying give him those positions
because I trust him.
Keep him nearby, and if that's the best way to keep him close, I mean, I guess that's what he has to do.
If he's really thinking about the country, he'll find a different position for him.
Right.
Yeah, but like I said, his idea, I think, of what making America great again is mainly probably
Business.
Financial.
Yeah,
'cause that's
economic.
what he knows. I mean, that's what he fucking knows.
Yeah.
And I mean, shit, we just fucking
And I know
talked
that.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
We just fucking talked about it in our class the other day. There were $21 trillion in debt. And what last year, wasn't it just 18? It doubled fucking 3 times.
Yeah, because you remember when we were sitting out here looking at it, it was only
Yeah.
like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
And that was like a year ago.
Okay, so wait, time out. How the hell did all this shit happen then?
The debt?
Yeah, if you said it basically tripled, if this is a businessman trying to run a country, you would think that he would run the country the
I thought you were
right way.
saying, how
Well,
did it happen? Yeah, never
I
mind.
I found a very good point. And by the way, this podcast is not gonna
This might
be-
have to be a 2-parter.
This is not
Well, we'll edit out all the empty spaces.
this is not going to be a quick talk podcast. This is going to be Zach Returns podcast. But a great, like,
We're already at
obviously
26 minutes.
yeah.
so.
Obviously our economy has boosted since Trump has become president, and I'm not going to say it's all of him because I don't believe that. But there's something about people not giving him credit. But at the same time, he's been president for 2 years now. We're coming into midterms. He's been and our economy is still moving upwards. So he has an effect. Now, whether it started with Obama, I don't know. Some Republicans will say it was Trump. It might have been steadily increasing, but Trump's the one making it go higher and stay higher.
Yeah.
And I saw a tweet the other day that said, if Trump isn't doing our economy any good, why does Obama want to take credit for what's happening now? Because he in his last speech, and I might be babbling right now, but in his last speech, when that's a whole nother story in itself that he's now attacking, he's talking and attacking President Trump.
Yeah, but this is the first time.
True, but it's also been like a known thing that presidents don't really go after new presidents or past presidents because they've all done the job. They've all had their hardships. And so they just kind of like, okay, that's your presidency. I don't agree with your policies, but I've done it before too, and I know what you feel.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of unprecedented for a president to go after another president.
I mean, it's not like he can be president again, so what does it matter?
It's just the respect factor is what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess I don't really have a point to that. Or if I did, it's gone.
To answer your question, though, because what she asked is like, even since he's been trying to get the economy up, why is the debt going up more now?
Right.
And
that
I think
was the original question.
my whole answer to that would be that with Republicans, it's all about military spending, and you gotta spend money to make money. So I think with him being in the White House, he's probably spending a lot more on like military stuff and like just whatever else that Obama was lacking on spending on. Because like when Obama was in presidency, like the main thing that they were spending on military wise was like drones and like different kind of adaptions into that shit.
So like new technology.
Yeah,
Right.
but now I think it's more or less like just fully
Back to the basics.
Yeah, but I mean, probably still doing technology stuff, but also probably buying a bunch of stuff to make our military stronger. I mean, that's what one of the things he was talking about.
I was about to say, when he first came in, I read an article a long time ago that he put a whole bunch of money back into the military.
Yeah. And
Which makes sense because I do agree. We had obviously we were known for our army, our military, when we had like, we haven't had like
Right, but I
a
don't
real.
think it depleted that fast.
The Iraq War is our most recent war,
Yeah.
but it's not World War II, World War I, all those kinds of things. Like this has been going on for what, 20 years now?
And I also wanted to
Well,
say
17.
this wall thing has been costing us a lot of money.
It's not going to happen.
It's costing us.
They've started building it though.
Yeah.
Have they really?
Yeah, and they're putting a lot of money in it, and that's what a lot of the Democrats are getting pissed about, because they're paying people like $15, $20, $30 an hour. and it's just a bunch of
Honestly,
money flooding
it's
into it.
kinda
I don't see
crazy.
It being finished then.
It's
by the
kind of
end his
crazy to
presidency.
think, like, if you're getting paid $15 an hour to build this wall, like, this is one of the, like, this wall has been a story of this country for the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
To think that they're getting paid the same as somebody who works at a Chicago McDonald's, it's kind of weird. Like,
Yeah.
you could go work at a McDonald's in Chicago for $15 an hour, or you can build this border
Yeah.
I mean,
for
honestly,
the president.
when it comes to the wall, people are always going to find a way to get where
Yeah.
they want to get.
That's true.
So
that is
if
true.
anything, they're wasting money building this wall.
Well,
if they
that's-
really want to protect the borders, hire more people.
That's the argument,
Well,
If you want,
but
no, but I'm saying.
but what's the difference?
If you're if you really want to get to America, come hell or high water, you're gonna get over that fucking wall.
There's
agree with
there's a risk in building this wall, because you could say, okay, we could spend the money on the wall and pay the amount of troop or the guards that we have now. Or you could say, forget the wall, hire more border security.
Yeah.
The money's still going to somebody, whether you hire
Right, I
more
get
people or you keep the same amount of people and build a wall.
But remember when we talked about it, and I was like, okay, we build this damn wall. What's to stop, Jerusalem from building a wall and keeping everyone else out? Like, that's just going to create a domino effect where everybody's going to be like, I need a wall so you can't get in. I need a wall here. Yeah, no, that's not going to solve anything.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know how much of our wall will influence other nations to build walls. The only thing I will say is that when you don't want somebody to do something and you try to block them from doing it, they're going to try harder.
Yeah.
This wall is just going to make them try harder.
Mm.
And it's going to cause probably our nation and our government to see the new way, like a new way of people getting across the border.
Uh-huh.
Because you're right, there's always like a wall, unless you build like, a 35,000 foot wall, which is very unrealistic.
Uh-huh.
An unclimbable wall. People are always going to find a way. And, unless you're willing to dig 35,000 feet into the ground to make sure nobody can climb under the wall, somebody's going to dig under.
Yeah.
Because a 6 foot deep wall, like to put a foundation 6 feet deep, that's not going to stop anybody from digging 6 feet down to get under it. Like,
yeah.
you're going to have to dig and dig, because people who want to come from, like, if they got nothing else to live for, they're going to dig. But maybe they say, okay, if we put it down far enough, it's time that they have to spend digging, and that's time, all the time that they're out there, they're vulnerable to being caught. So that's an argument.
Yeah, but also, like, to go back to what we were talking about how Donald Trump is and how he's not really a politician, this could be like the exact, like what you would think of if somebody with no political experience, they would say, well, this is the party that I represent, and if I'm president, I'm just going to full-blown go into everything that we hate and everything that we love. So military spending, yeah. We fucking hate these, like immigrants and fucking all these people coming in with Mexico. Let's build a fucking wall. I think he's just doing the complete extreme to almost leave a mark within the Republican Party that he's representing.
I mean, yes, but I think he left a mark when he became president.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got another question. So, you said the wall is already starting to be built. Let's say it's done before his presidency is over. Do you think the next president, if it's not going to be him, will take that damn wall down?
Depends.
It depends on a lot of things, because
So
first of all,
let's use Kanye and Oprah
hold on.
as our choices.
Hold
if
on,
it's
let's
Kanye,
hold on.
If it's Kanye, I would definitely say, because he probably wants to keep as many fans as he wants. I feel like he would, he'd be like, we're taking a halt.
No, but I'm saying the wall was already built by the end of Trump's presidency. So this is the next president.
I don't think he would tear it down.
Well, first, hold on. First of all, I don't think this wall being finished would probably require Trump to be in office for 8 years. Because I don't think it's going to be finished in this first term.
She's just saying, though.
I know, but just to put some context on it.
Yeah.
Just to put some context on it.
But that's what I'm saying. I know it's not going to happen during his presidency. It's a hypothetical.
Right. And also, that would be just basically flip. Let's just say there was a wall now, and Trump wanted to take it down. It would be basically the same as asking to build it, because it's like, okay, now we need the money to take this 2,000-mile long wall down, ripping it out, knocking it down, cleaning it up. It's the same thing as buying the supplies, putting it up, and maintaining it.
So you think they just leave it so they don't have to waste the money? Or
it would be another money argument, because that's that's part of the reason it's taken so long for Trump to get this wall. I mean, not because there are other reasons, but it's because Democrats didn't want to give him the money to do it. So are Republicans going to want to give the Democrats the money, because it's most likely going to be the Democrats that want to take it down, the money to take it down?
Yeah.
It's basically just the opposite way of thinking.
And also, it's not the Berlin Wall. They can't just knock it down.
Right.
It's made out of, like, all this shit that's supposed to be, like, explosion-proof.
How long was the Berlin Wall?
Not long. It's just splitting up half of Berlin from the other side that's controlled by Russia. So it wasn't even that long.
Well,
it was just...
I want to see
because half of Germany or whatever at that time was, controlled by the Russians after World War II. Mm-hmm. So I think the split is in Berlin, and then
the split is in Berlin.
Yeah, and then on that other side, though...
It went all the way across from Berlin all the way across the
because that piece belongs to Russia. But then after that...
And to give you a little bit... Well, hold on. Keep talking.
What I'm trying to say is, though, it's like if somebody wanted to knock it down, it's not just like people could just go over it and then hug each other and then it's just the end of this. It's like, no, it's all right. It's a big fucking wall.
The Mexico-United States border, just to give some context.
It's from California to Texas.
It's 1,954 miles long.
Yeah.
So almost 2,000 miles long. Mm-hmm. The Berlin Wall was 27 miles long.
Yeah, not long.
So it's easier. You're right. It was easier to just say knock the Berlin Wall down.
And also,
that's like the distance from that's like going back and forth from your house to Tom's house like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. And it was probably this wall and then maybe like half of this wall up. Like maybe even a little less than that. It wasn't even that big. There's 2 layers of it. You can even look up pictures. There's people climbing over it when they knocked it down. What I'm gonna say is that if they wanted to take this wall down, I feel like they wouldn't even bother. I just feel like maybe they would make it more accessible and maybe take parts of it away. But that would be it. I don't think they would take the whole fucking thing down. That would just be a big...
I don't know. Like a big ass thing to do. Whenever I think of this wall, I'm like, that's just a waste of money. If you really want to, like, I'm all for protecting the borders, but I'm also all for, letting immigrants in because that's what the United States is. But if you want to protect it, put people there. Yeah.
According to a UK website, Metro, from January, this is just one that I pulled up. They said in the building guidelines, the wall would be a minimum height of 18 feet, which is not that tall.
But you definitely got to climb it.
And
plus,
that's just a minimum.
Wall guarded as well?
It was guarded, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So you got shot.
True, but you gotta wonder
and there was barbed wire too.
how they space out the guards, because that's 2,000 miles. You're going to have guards in Arizona, Texas, California, New Mexico, all over the place.
And because I've never really looked this up, but what's the water situation? Because it's got to go into the ocean, some portion.
I have no
idea. It can't just go forever.
But if you look up this Metro article, it has pictures of the different prototypes. Because they tested out prototype walls, one big stone wall. It looks like they've got one where it's stone on the top half and like a fencing situation, which is just it's almost kind of like...
that's a little backwards.
It is, because it's almost like, hey, Mexico, come look at us, but you can't get over the wall.
Well, wasn't a Mexican senator or something like that ended up going on top of the wall. And he
I
was
remember.
like sitting on it, and he was like doing a vlog talking about it.
Yeah, I remember that. But it's this is from January 19, 2018. It's called Height of Trump's Mexico Border Wall. Make it near impossible to scale.
I don't know.
And
I think the wall is unnecessary.
I just want to say, like, I know, like, on the Alleged podcast, we've definitely dissed, more leftist things than anything else. But you want to know something? I think you need to have progressive people, especially in America, to make things better.
Right.
And obviously, things have gotten better with women rights and, black people rights and, all these things throughout history and all that shit. But I'm just saying, it's like, if something like this happened in, like, 1920... would anybody say anything? Probably
but
not.
That's what
No.
I'm saying.
Probably
if,
not.
If America's supposed to be so progressive, you mean to tell me you couldn't find a more common sense solution for this?
But the problem was,
'Cause it is
the
ridiculous.
problem is when Obama was in office, he was so lenient on who was coming in, not so much who was leaving. It doesn't matter who leaves, really. But who was coming into this country, that it got out of control, where there was just no time. Like, for when Trump came in, there was just no time.
I get Trump was doing damage control.
It was
but
like,
there had to be a reasonable way to do it.
And let me make myself clear with the next thing I'm about to say. I'm going to use an analogy, and no way am I comparing the people who came into this country because I'm going to use flies as an analogy.
Put your seatbelts on.
In no way are the people who came in flies, but just as an analogy. It's like when you have you have a garbage sitting there ready to go out to the garbage can, and you just let it sit there. Mm-hmm. Flies are gonna come in and they're gonna and then the maggots come in, and then by the time you're ready to fix it, you got a lot more work. You got a lot more work to do. And so the whole point Trump is trying to make is Obama let it go who was coming into this country for so long and let the population build. Jobs were scarce. All those kinds of issues. Trump's point is, like, it shouldn't have been so out of control. It shouldn't have been.
And that's right. It shouldn't have. But I'm saying my whole point is you have to have a logical damage control approach.
Yeah.
If Obama
is unnecessary money being wasted. He's cutting off, and he's specifying groups of people. You've got these groups already in your country, so you're already making them feel a certain way about you.
And not only that, another thing is, we had a good system with, like, visas and student visas and telling people, okay, you want to study technology in this company? We see you as a valuable asset. We'll give you a student visa, and you can come over here and study.
That would be a work visa.
Well, no, if he's coming over here for school.
Oh, but you said working in
Okay, let you study, whatever. The problem with that is once those visas, whether it be work, regular, or school, student visas, the government never went back.
Okay, so me and you both agree that we don't want open borders.
Agreed.
Okay, I'm not saying that that's what I want Trump to do, because we just said we don't. I'm saying we can have closed borders and still allow people in our country.
Hold on, let me stop you, because I don't think we had brought up I don't think I had mentioned the open borders yet.
Yeah, we did actually. Anyways, so you mean to tell me that all these people that are in office elected because of us do not have common sense to, let's say, go back to those visas that were working, hire more people to monitor them, instead of alienating all the people that are already in this country, because let's say the rest of their family can't get in. We had that whole incident with all those kids locked up, and that was very unnecessary and very damaging to them.
Yeah, if that was Kennedy's position, you'd probably say, yep, that was a fuck up.
I would say it is about common sense, but politics doesn't carry a lot of common sense with it.
But it should.
It should, but it doesn't, because there's a lot of deal making. so common sense things don't just fly.
Right, but I'm saying, okay, the general idea is we don't want open borders. So right there, the Republicans already get what they want. They get closed borders. Now, if you guys could compromise a little bit and be like, hey, if we limit the number of visas we give to certain areas, certain number of people, and we monitor them when they come in, then the Democrats get what they want and they still get immigrants allowed in the country. Hello, I should just be a fucking politician at this point.
I mean, like I said, that's an idea that sounds great, but there's just a lot that would have to make that happen on both sides. And as you can see, both sides do not like working with each other.
Clearly.
Well, that's what I was talking about earlier. It's like, well, we didn't even mention it on the podcast, but I was saying it's like the reason why this two-system party will never end, or this two-party system will never end, is because we want the same thing, but we want to get to the same place by going different paths. I can't say paths. But it's never going to end because nobody wants to walk down the same road.
Okay, question. So what if an independent came in and did plans like this? Like a little bit of both.
That's what everybody wants, but it's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
It's either not going to happen because independents just don't win, or third-party candidates, or you could label yourself independent, but your policies are always going to have Republicans saying, oh, you're Democrat, or liberals saying, oh, you're Republican.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
then what if you lied and you said, okay, I'm more of a Democrat, but once you got in the office, you played a more independent.
So if
I'm sure there's people that have done that.
I'm sure there's people that done that, but at the same time, if you're a political person and that would have to be a lifetime thing almost, because you would have to be, let's say you're a Republican and you're trying to get to the presidency, so you start by saying, I'm a Republican at value.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to run as a Democrat, so people, because that's the popular one right now, or people are looking at Democrats. This would have to be like a lifelong plan.
Yeah.
And that's for one point, that's too much.
Yeah.
And two, if Oprah ran for presidency as a Republican, people would be like, you're full of yourself.
Yeah.
You're full of shit.
It's not even that though, too. I think if somebody if somebody has done something like that in the past or something just to get in, it's probably not as easy as it sounds, because you probably get in.
Probably not.
No,
Yeah.
I think the easiest way to do that is say I identify as Republican, but I am not your conservative father. You know, I
was about to say something like, you probably should just go with whatever side you agree with the most. But then once you get in, I feel like we don't realize how much power the president has, and maybe he doesn't have as much when it comes to certain things. And let's say like you go in as Republican, but then you get fucked, and then the House and the Senate. Like, let's say Donald Trump was really a Democrat, and right now the House and the Senate is Republican, but at heart he's an independent. Can that work out? Probably not.
it would be tough.
Probably not. And it's all in what cards happen, because you can get fucked with whatever term you get. What happens in your term? Who gets elected where? It's just
what happened
you can.
before your
Yeah.
term.
Yeah. I mean, look at Obama. His first year,
Trump
he had to
got-
deal with the 2008 crash that fucking Bush left. I mean,
but
what fuck show is that? I mean, goddamn.
well, let me say this: the best opportunity for somebody who wants to run for president and wants to run like Trump running against basically Obama's legacy, because this was a good time for him to run. And the best, like if he ran against Obama during his re-election time, it would have been way different. But he was running after Obama's full two terms. Everybody got to look at what Obama did, and a lot of the country said, you know what, I want something different.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what helped Trump. Now, if Trump goes 8 years, they're going to be able to look at him and be like, you know what, I don't want that again, so we're going to vote Democrat.
Before you say what you're gonna say, can I just ask really quick? Do you think he's gonna go 8 years?
Yeah.
I
Okay.
hope not. I swear to God, I hope not.
Well, actually, I take that back. I want to see, as of right now, yes, because we don't have official confirmation. And I know this is going to sound silly, but we don't have official confirmation from Kanye or Oprah.
Yeah.
Now, if they get into the race, I'm going to say I don't know, because
Who are you voting for?
I wouldn't vote for either of them.
So,
I'm not
you gonna
voting
vote for
again.
Trump again?
Out of those three, I definitely wouldn't vote for Oprah. I don't want to see that. Kanye would scare...
Yeezus was the last good album, so I don't know. If he's not making any more good stuff, I don't know if I want to hear
Kanye,
anymore.
I think Trump is blunt, but Kanye's loopy.
Loopy.
He is loopy in his... I'm not saying he's lost or
He is a
crazy,
little crazy.
but I think
I'ma say it.
I think Trump's just blunt, and I think Kanye is a little
I
crazy.
think Kanye's full of himself and
And
full
I
of
think
shit.
what would be great too if Kanye did come down the two and he lost and he was like, you know what, this person's great, but Beyonce just can't.
Wait,
With a new album
no,
this
no. Okay, so what if Trump?
But hold on, he asked a question about if I thought he was going to go full 8 terms. As of right now, yes. But if those two get in the race, I think America's going to be like, you know what, let's throw Oprah in office, or let's throw Kanye in office.
Yeah.
Like, come on, tell me that Kanye fans would not go to the polls and just straight up vote for Kanye.
They probably would, and they'd be stupid as
Yeah.
fuck.
But that's not what they're thinking about. They just want to see it happen.
Anyways,
I ain't got time to be playing with my goddamn money. Like, all of this, you just playing with my life.
yeah. Anyways, you had a question.
Oh, I did.
I didn't throw you off,
okay,
did I? Okay.
Okay. So, what if there was a different Democrat instead of Hillary going against Trump? Do you think Trump still would have won?
Well, the other Democrat would have been Bernie, and
I was gonna say, I was thinking about debates, the presidential debates the other day, and I remember watching a lot of the Republican ones with like all 10 candidates, like 10 of the top candidates, and then they had the other one for like the 4 lower ones. But I remember Carly Fiorina. I don't even know if she's still alive. I haven't heard that name in years.
Don't know who that is.
But I was just like thinking, and I think I was also thinking about women in presidential races, and I was like, wait, what about the Democratic debates? I'm like, who was even in those debates?
Yeah,
I remember Hillary and Bernie, but was there anybody else? Like, the options were very limited.
yeah.
Which is stupid. Damn, if you don't want Trump, give me motherfucking options.
But
yeah.
and they
What?
did, but they were all Republican.
We had fucking Ted Cruz,
Jeb Bush.
Who was the guy that talked about Trump's hands? Marco Rubio.
Ben Carson.
Ben Carson. Who is football?
John Kasich. Chris Christie.
Chris Christie. I mean, it was a pretty exciting lineup, and they were all characters in some way.
Mm-hmm.
See, the Democrats fucked themselves.
And now who's a part of the administration now? You have Ben Carson's in there.
Talking about aliens and pyramids.
Chris Christie's been trying to get in there, but
why? He's gonna roll around the fucking White House lawn in the grass. Fuck out of here! It's a bowling ball.
I don't think there's anybody else in. No, I mean Ted Cruz is a supporter now.
Fucking
He's for. I think that's just Ted Cruz being a Republican or a conservative, though.
That's
I don't
him.
think he really supports Trump as a
I
person.
think that's him being a capital B I. I don't. Yeah. I he would never be president. I'm sorry, but he would never be. Before we're done with this podcast, let's talk about the judge. The judges.
What judge?
That
You
this-
mean the
this-
story that we
this
were
all
supposed to
spanned
talk?
from?
Oh, the Kavanaugh?
Well, we were supposed to be talking about.
Yeah,
but
if you
got
rewind
derailed.
about
There's
what-
somebody listening right now. Like, what happened? I wanted to know what happened with the judges.
just been waiting the entire time to see
I'm listening to you, Ralph.
if we would
Don't worry.
say, but anyways.
it was a fuck up.
So
So wait, there's only one woman?
Oh boy, is she an old
One
woman?
woman.
for
she
what?
old?
In the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
Yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh, nope.
And there's another. Yeah, there is another one.
Elena. Okay, so you got 2 white women, 1 black person. Everybody else is white.
So Brett Kavanaugh is likely coming into the Supreme Court. He's Republican, very conservative at heart, and that would make it 5 Republican Supreme Court justices.
Yeah.
Making it 5-4. Now, Democrats and liberals are worried that he is going to mess with the activist, the progressive movement that has to do with race, gender, sexual orientation.
Probably
weed. I don't know. I think a lot of people are in consensus about weed, though.
I think as long as big pharma is still around, the weed is going to be getting fucked with for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just gonna say if you're like into stocks or anything like that right now, the best stocks to get into are Canadian weed stocks, because right now they're not that expensive.
Really?
They're gonna blow up eventually.
I lied. It looks like there's 3. There's 3 women, 1 black person. I rest my case now.
That's fucking crazy.
It is kind of
Anyways,
crazy
yeah.
It's crazy to think about in the time we are, but at the same time, you have to think about these Supreme Court justices have been on the bench for decades.
Yeah.
So at the time they were appointed, it wasn't so much about diversity, you know?
Right, but yeah, okay. I mean, I guess it makes sense if Trump wants all men to be in the Supreme Court.
But to be fair, what did Obama bring in any black people?
He brought in a woman.
He brought in. He didn't change anything else out.
I don't know.
I thought he had 2.
I thought he had 2 as well.
I thought it was a woman and a man.
I forgot her name.
I have no idea.
Starts with an M, I think, or an S. It's either her first name starts with an M and her last name starts with an S, or her first name starts with an S and her last name starts with an M.
We got Ruth. We got Sonia. I think.
Oh,
Sonia,
yeah,
that's the one. And then we got Elena.
For some reason in my brain,
Those are the 3 women.
I'm like maybe her name's Miggy Smalls.
I mean,
don't know.
do you think a majority Republican Supreme Court would hurt the progressive movement?
Obviously, yeah. I mean, okay. I don't know. I just think we need a little more diversity. If you wanted to be all Republican, fine. But give me at least 1 goddamn woman Republican up in there, too. Then I could try and understand why she thinks like that.
I don't know if Trump was thinking about diversity. I think he threw
either.
some like diverse candidates in there to show people, but at the end of the day, he wants people that are gonna be basically him on that seat. So
yeah, I know.
I don't think it's necessarily going. It's definitely gonna slow it down. Like I don't doubt that, but I think it's just gonna be more controlled.
I almost feel like it's gonna make people a lot more cautious about bringing things, because like when you have lawsuits and all that, you take it to your typical court, and then if you still don't like it, then you take it higher and higher and higher. I feel like it just might make people more cautious to go through that process if they're not satisfied, because it's like, okay, well, we've already got 5 votes against us most likely, and there's little diversity, so you've got narrow-minded people already in the seats, and it takes a lot to change narrow-minded people.
Another thing that people should understand is that Supreme Court justices shouldn't be criticized for going by the law or by the Constitution.
I'm not criticizing
and so,
them for that.
But calling them narrow-minded kind of attacks that value of using the law or the Constitution, because to change something, you have to go against it.
Okay, so maybe I shouldn't say narrow-minded, but you've already got people who are strong believers in the Constitution who may or may not be willing to fudge it.
In this
a little
CNN
bit.
article, it does talk about being narrow-minded, and I don't agree with that just for the simple fact that using the Constitution and law does not make you narrow-minded. It makes you respectable because you're using what we've been using for the last however many hundreds of years.
Okay, so yeah, no, I see maybe narrow-minded was the wrong word. I'm just saying, honestly, the Constitution doesn't always agree with what's happening to us.
You're
now.
right. It was written a long time ago,
But that's
but
what I'm saying. You
there's...
need a little wiggle room in
Our
here.
government was set up to not only follow it, but make it hard not to follow it and make it hard to add to it.
Yeah.
Damn them. Them
But
founding fathers back in the day.
if you wanted, like, we can still add amendments, but it what does it need? 2/3 vote for
Something like that,
yeah.
from like everybody basically.
But that's, I think,
But
what
see, then
she's talking about is that if it was half and half, it'd be more of a fight than just no or yes. You
Right,
know
but
what I
that's
mean?
what I'm saying.
Right.
You know, if you've got half Democrats, half Republicans, and then you got that swing person, that gives it, I feel like, a fairer chance.
But
'Cause
how do
you're
you
supposed
determine
to
the swing
follow-
person?
You by their values, I guess.
Yeah, it's the final decision.
They can be a
'Cause a
be
judge-
a Republican, but if
Yeah.
he, is a little more, let's say, he agrees a little bit with the
But what's-
Democrats, but doesn't really at the end of
What's
the day.
to say that one of these conservatives isn't more middle than some of them?
Well, you don't know that.
Exactly. So one of these could be a swing
They
person.
could be, but it's already the idea of 5 conservatives that Trump that Trump put in there already. So it already makes people a little timid to even test
Yeah.
those waters.
Because the whole idea is that they get the final say no matter what. And if they all had the same ideologies, it's all going in really one direction. Where if it was mixed or if it was at least balanced, like I said, it would be more or less like, well, what should we really do?
No,
and I think
see
it would
what
come
you're
down
saying.
to real ethics opposed to just politics and law. Because in my opinion, sometimes it shouldn't just be law. It should just be what should happen.
No, I see what you were saying though, babe. Like, I get it. Maybe these Republicans are possibly swing voters. I'm just saying, just looking at the outside without actually seeing what kind of values they have, it makes me at least a little nervous, because it's like, all right, we already got 5 Republicans in there, and we've got a Republican president, we've got a Republican House and Senate, and it's just...
And you can't fully blame the Republicans, because at the end of the day, the liberal senators are also confirming him. They're also saying, yes, this man is qualified.
Right, which gives me at least a little hope that he could possibly be a swing vote. I'm just saying, looking at it on the outside, it makes me nervous, because it's like, yes, I want you to follow the Constitution like you're supposed to, but at the same time, you need to think current and future.
And there's a way to interpret the law as well. A lot of law is interpreted. It's not like it says this cannot happen. It says blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, well, I interpret that as this. So I can see how I can justify this decision by saying this is what the Constitution says.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm justifying it this way. So,
Yeah,
it's a lot of decision making.
it is. I can never be in that position.
And I don't think the forefathers saw our times as being this difficult.
What happened to the Whigs? Where did they all go?
They just got really itchy.
They're still in Britain, aren't they? They still use that? I think they still use that.
If they do, that's fucking...
I remember being in elementary school, and you had that little placemat of the presidents, and it's like, he's a Whig, and he's an independent, he's a Republican, and he's a Democrat, and I'm like, what the hell do these mean?
Wigs...
You mean the party?
Yeah,
I meant the party.
Well,
I thought you meant like
people...
No, I know in Britain they wear wigs.
Yeah, people who were wearing wigs weren't part of the Whig party. It was just what they were doing. But there was a Whig party.
That's what I was talking
Yeah.
about.
But Whigs was more on the conservative side.
I don't know.
I think. Just the whole idea of why there's not a lot of those parties left is because they were almost like a part of like what the Republicans and Democrats already represented.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of just like, why would you go for like
a third party that's already with me?
No, it's almost like, why would you go for another party that's like, it's like the party that the Republican is, but then it's like they got their own ideologies that you might not agree with. Because I think the thing about Republican and Democrat is that they both apply to a wide group of people, whereas usually a third party will be like, well, they agree with this and that and this and that. And yeah, they're balanced, but maybe I don't really agree with a lot of stuff that they're agreeing with. And it's kind of just like the reason why I think a party would die is just because you just have less and less people that are just like, I'm just not going to deal with that. I'm just going to go for the people that are going all in to one side.
I got another question then. What about all these, what are they, Gen X now?
The newest generation.
The newest generation.
Millennials.
What about those?
No.
We had that whole talk
The millennials is actually before us.
Really?
Yes.
What? That's fucking crazy. So we're millennials.
No, we are.
Are we Gen X?
What are we?
What the fuck are we?
I thought we were Gen X. I think, isn't it Y or Z?
No, it's Z, Gen Z. Or
yeah. So what
like
about
that,
all those kids that you know are graduating this year and gonna become voters and all that? What do you think they'll swing?
I have no fucking idea. I didn't even realize the millennials are before us. I thought it was people who were born millennium and on.
I didn't know that either. We had a whole talk about that.
Hold on.
I have no idea.
So the millennials. Oh no, we're not Gen X.
What the fuck are we?
No,
we're post millennials or Gen Z.
There we go, because we talked about X, Y, and Z.
Millennials were 1981 to 1986, or 1981 to 1996.
Then I feel like people are applying that word to like the wrong
Everybody.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been misconstrued of who
but
are
I think it just makes sense. So if you think that,
it does.
What I just said, like millennium and on, that just kind of makes sense.
But we are the post millennials.
Yeah.
Well, we still got millennial in there, so just put us in a little cloud of.
Hey, we're Generation Z though.
I thought we were X.
No. Generation X was 1965 to 1980.
So then what is this generation?
Post millennials or Generation Z.
My mom's Generation
After
X.
us, I'm talking about.
After us, it doesn't say.
Why couldn't they do this in alphabetical
Well,
order?
they probably didn't realize that there were going to be more than Z. They're like, well, now we got to start making up
Give
letters.
me A1. Something.
Fucking A.
Oh, Jesus.
It says.
He's fucking vaping. I hope someone stabs you in the back.
You know, vaping is actually bad for you.
I know, yeah. There's wet lung now, which hasn't been around since like the 1700s.
Jesus. I'm on another source here. It says 2013 to 2025 is Generation Alpha.
Why the fuck they gonna be an alpha? I want to be an alpha.
We're from 97 to 2012.
So we're
Z. Yeah, mine. It's my generation.
So wait. Does that mean every generation afterwards is about to be Greek?
Probably.
Because it's alpha, beta, something. I don't remember.
I don't think it'll be like that.
I have no idea.
The oldest of us would be 23 years old.
Yeah, I remember when I told you a little while ago that there are no more 90s babies. We're all grown-ups now.
Oh, really?
We're all 18 or older.
No, I guess that's true.
Yeah, because everybody born in 2000 is about to be 18.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking crazy.
I know. It's crazy. Okay, well, I'm just putting in perspective of Amina because she's 2004 and then Rafi is 2007.
Well, yeah, if you like kids who are turning 10 years old were born when Obama was elected president.
Right.
Yeah.
That fucks with my head.
Mind blown. All right, can we stop? I gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah. I don't know how to outro this one.
Well, thank you for having me on. Feels like old times. We still didn't do the last episode yet.
Yeah, we haven't even done our last episode. It's still pending.
Thank you.
I mean, hey, we could put this as both of them then. It'd be like a mini episode for ours and the last farewell for the
No.
I really hope this wasn't a fuck fest. I don't know how many times I swore.
I don't either.
Honestly, I didn't even think it was that bad.
I don't know.
Anyways.
All right. Like us, follow us, check out the website. We're happy to have Zach back for the episode. You'll probably hear from him again. Bye.
Yeah. This was supposed to be a quick talk one, but
I
that
said
didn't
bye
happen.
already.
No, don't say bye.
See ya.